There are few places in the world that I can say literally come straight out of a fairy tale. But here, this is where you would expect a fairy tale to be set. An island in the middle of a lake that's crystal clear, that's blue, and it's one of the gems of Europe that I didn't even know existed until a few years ago. I've been dying to come here ever since, and finally today is the day that I'm going to explore this incredible destination in Europe. It's really underrated, especially compared to the many lakes that Italy has to offer, but from right behind me, you can see what this place is all about. Welcome to Lake Bled. Good morning guys, and welcome to one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. Look at this view right behind me. This is the beautiful lake called Lake Bled here in Slovenia. One of the most beautiful places I think I have seen in the world. Now today we're going to spend the day exploring Lake Bled. People might think that it's just a lake, but the fact is that there are quite a few things to do around Lake Bled. And we're going to go around exploring this lake. Obviously, the island is the main attraction, which you can see right behind me. And we've just woken up pretty early today just to come to the lakeside itself, and the sunrise. That was spectacular. I mean, you can see the sun rising over the mountains, reflecting off of the clouds back there in the mountains. I think those might be some of the best drone shots that I've ever taken in my life. And the scenery just makes it so easy just to capture such incredible, beautiful photos and videos. And the fact is, there's also many people here who are flying drones just because of how beautiful this place is. So when you're here, first thing you gotta do, wake up early, catch a sunrise. It is beautiful. The sunrise here is one of the best you're gonna see in the world. And there's no doubt that when you're here in Slovenia, missing sunrise here at Lake Bled, oh, that's like you haven't even, it's like you didn't even go to Slovenia at all. Now early in the morning, Lake Bled can still be very, very cold. After all, we are starting to get into the Alpine region of Europe, which means the temperatures can get pretty chilly. Even if during the day it gets up to 21, 22, 23 degrees Celsius, at night it falls down to almost 8 or 7 degrees, and that's actually what happened last night. Last night the temperature here was about 7 degrees, but it's supposed to get up to almost 21 degrees today. So there is quite a big variation in temperature, and if you decide to do sunrise here at Lake Bled, beware, bring some warm clothes, it's gonna be cold. I don't know if you can tell, but there are some fishes swimming right in there. Bled is one of the most biodiverse places, and they preserve it so well. Actually this morning I think I saw something that looks like an otter, something like that, not exactly an otter, but something looked like that just came up right onto the shore. And this entire area is really, really well preserved, which means you're just gonna see random ducks waddling by, and it's all protected right here in Lake Bled. Now any tour of Lake Bled will have to start with the town of Bled itself, which is the town that we're walking through. This is probably the town you're going to come to. It's probably the town that the bus is going to drop you off, and it also is probably going to be the town that you're going to leave Lake Bled from, just because this is where all the transport links go to Lake Bled. Now the town itself is really, really nice. It's very, very charming, and it has that sort of Alpine feeling to it. You've got really unique sort of houses, wooden houses that are very traditional in the Slovenian countryside. But one of the main things to do here inside the town is to visit their main cathedral, the little church that they have. It's pretty big actually if you look at it, but we're going to go inside and we're going to see what this church is all about. Well, I just got told off by a priest for filming inside. But the funny thing is, I checked the rules and it said there's no limitation on filming, and actually my hostel host also told me the same thing, that you could take photographs inside. And then the priest told me that you couldn't, and that was fine, but he said outside the sign it did say that. But then I went back to check and it didn't say anything about that, which is kind of frustrating. I mean, if you're going to tell people not to film, put a sign up or something like that, but then don't go telling them off when they come inside if you didn't put the sign up. But regardless, it is a very nice church. It's still a living church. They're currently in mass actually. People are currently going inside right now. And it is a pretty, well, decent start to the morning here in Lake Bled. Now with such an early start to the day, the best thing that we can do is make the most of this early morning sunrise and walk around the lake. The lake isn't the largest lake ever. It's only about 6 kilometers to walk around, which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours depending on how fast you go. This actually gives us plenty of time, and the best part is when you're here early in the morning, the tour groups haven't arrived from Ljubljana and other cities in Eastern Europe yet. So you kind of have it to yourself, but once the tour groups come, it becomes a mess. So we're gonna go ahead and make the most of it. See all these swimming areas right here, but not a single person swimming. It's just way too cold to get into the water right now, but I bet in like 2 months this place would be packed with people. Now the island of Bled is not exactly close to the actual town of Bled. If the Bled Lake was like a rectangle, the town would be on one end, but Bled Island would be on the other, which is why starting from the town you can see the island's over there, but you can't even tell it's an island. It kind of looks like it's just blended into the background. Once we get closer, you'll start to see the separation between the lake and the island, but from here, they look like they're all the same thing. But for me, what's impressive right now is the color of that water. The sun is shining, and that is some of the clearest blue water you're gonna find in Slovenia. Unfortunately, it's too cold for us to jump in, so we're not gonna get to do that this time around. One of the cool things about Bled has drinking water everywhere. It's such a clean area and such a clean lake that tap water is perfectly fine, and any of the sort of spouts that you see along the walking trail, good for some fresh water. Now the water in Lake Bled is so clear and so blue because this water comes from the glaciers around here. When you woke up in the morning, I could see all the mountains that surround Lake Bled. Those mountains are much higher than Lake Bled, and Lake Bled is actually at a very high elevation. It's only about 150 meters above sea level, but the mountains around Lake Bled are far, far higher, and those glacial waters slowly trickle down into Lake Bled, giving it that super clear color. Additionally, there's a lot of calcium carbonate in the area, so that calcium carbonate turns that water into a very, very light blue color, which is what you see right behind me here on the lake. I think out of all the sections of the lake, this little bit right here might actually be my favorite part of the entire path, because you're basically walking on the lake. You're not walking on solid ground, and this is the only part of the path where you actually have kind of like a boardwalk situation, because you can see right here there's water, so I'm actually walking on top of the lake. I'm not walking on the actual shores anymore, and the island is right there. Like there's direct sort of view to the island and there's nothing blocking it. But it is such a nice day here today. The weather is perfect, the island looks beautiful, and this walk, I mean, just look at these wooden planks. They really make you feel immersed in the actual lake rather than just walking around it and not feeling like you're really engaged with Lake Bled. You can see right over there at the top, those are where the glaciers are, and that creates the incredible lake that we have. Now one thing you'll be sure to find here in Lake Bled, many ducks. And the reason for that is because here in Lake Bled they take like a really big focus on conservation. And a lot of these areas where you see there's grass, they don't mow the grass, which makes it a perfect little habitat for little ducklings to come out, just like the ones right behind me. But because they protect the habitat so well, these birds and these animals are all very, very well protected. And there are so many of them. Like when you're walking around here, you'll see so many ducks, so many ducklings. That's one of the main focuses not only of Lake Bled, but also Slovenia in general. They're a very sustainable country, and that's something that I'm loving as I'm exploring this lake. At this point you're probably wondering, I've heard enough about the lake. How do you get to the island in Bled? And that is a very good question. There are actually a couple ways of actually getting to the island. The first way is to rent your own boat. You can rent your own rowing boat, and that costs somewhere between 20 to 30 euros, depending on how many people and how long you're renting the boat for. It's probably the most expensive option, which is why we're definitely not doing that. The next option is to rent a paddleboard. A paddleboard's a little cheaper, it's about 15 euros, and you basically paddle yourself out all the way to the island. There's a few problems with that though. First, the weather, not exactly the warmest for paddleboarding right now. And second, if you fall, well, good luck to you, because I don't know what you're gonna do then. The final option is to take a traditional boat called a pletna, and the pletnas were actually had to give like authorization and licenses in order to have your pletna go from the shoreline to the island of Bled. Now this is a very traditional type of wooden boat, and it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, but of course the modern day pletna is much more developed, it's much safer, and it's one of the most popular ways to actually get to Bled Island. So we're gonna go ahead and take a pletna, and we're gonna see if we can make it to Bled Island. Now the thing with the pletnas is that because they're this traditional wooden boat that takes you over, they don't really have a set schedule. So once it fills up, that's when they leave. Our boat's currently not exactly full yet, so we're just waiting for a few more people to show up, and once they show up, we'll go to the island.
We start from of course, left, right, because of the balance.
We are sitting here and
That is quite the welcome onto Bled Island. An entire choir singing right on the staircase. Now on the island itself there used to be 100 steps until they had to build the dock where you actually get the boat on, so now it's only 99 steps. And the tradition here in Slovenia is that when you get married, the groom is supposed to carry the bride up the 99 steps all the way to the top of the church. It's a Slovenian tradition. Does it happen all the time? I don't know. I heard one of the tour guides saying that she's only seen it once in her life, so maybe not the most frequent tradition, but it is still a tradition here in Slovenia. Now you are actually allowed to visit the church on the island, however you do have to pay a little bit of a fee. It's about 12 euros to get in, and I would have usually skipped this, but apparently there's a bell inside the church, and if you ring it, that's supposed to bring you good luck. We don't have a bride to bring up the 99 steps, but we can do one of the traditions, which is ring the bell, so let's go inside and do that. I messed up, I have to try again. Second try, let's see if this works. Okay, we got a ring. That worked. Now aside from the church itself, you're also able to climb the very famous bell tower at the top of Bled Island. And it's also included in the ticket of 12 euros that allows you to get access to everything basically on the island. But that seems like it's going to be a lot harder than I expected, so we're going to be climbing up for a while. You can see the pendulum that serves to tell time here at the bell tower. It's not the same one as the one we rang earlier in the church. That's the church's bell. This is its own separate bell. At the very top of the tower, you get this old restored clock, originally built in the 1890s. It was recently restored in 2013, but it's still functioning as usual. It rings every 15 minutes, and you can actually hear it all across the lake. But for me, the coolest part about the bell tower is that view right there. Look at that water. It really doesn't get better than that. You literally see Bled Island from a whole new perspective once you come up here to the top of the tower. The way that you lived is made clear by how you died. Not really sure that's the best statement to put on a staircase where, well, death could be very imminent. And just like that, our time on the island has come to an end. Boat captains usually give you about 40-50 minutes just to see the island. It's not a very big island, so it's quite generous in terms of time, but after you see the church and the bell tower, that's about it anyways, unless you want some ice cream. So we're gonna head back on the boat, and it's gonna take us back to the shore of the lake. Like that, we are back on the mainland, and interestingly enough, Bled Island is actually the only island in Slovenia. Slovenia doesn't have much of a coastline, and where it does have a coastline, it doesn't have any islands. So that island is the only island that Slovenia has, which means that I can actually say I've seen all of Slovenia's islands, every single one of them. Now, as you can probably imagine, if it's kind of chilly here in Lake Bled during late spring, almost early summer, then it probably gets pretty cold during winter, and you'd absolutely be right. It gets so cold that it snows and this place turns into a skiing paradise. But what do you do when you have a ski slope during the summer? Well, you turn something into a little bit different. Now I've just gone here onto the chairlift that's going to take me all the way up to the top of the mountain. And the thing is, during ski season, I'd be wearing skis. But today, we're going tobogganing, and it's going to be so much fun. Woo! Oh my god! That has got to be one of the most fun things to do in Lake Bled. Easily, out of all the things I've done today, the top thing. It's so much fun. You go so fast. You actually have quite a bit of control over how fast the toboggan actually goes, so that actually works out pretty well. But number one thing you gotta do in Bled, forget even the lake, that is so much fun. But let's go ahead and let's see what more Bled has to offer. It is a nice walk. It just might not be taking us where we should be going. Well, we did make it to the right place. One of the main things to see here in Bled is Bled Castle, but we're not actually going to go in first because it actually costs 14 euros to go inside. And after paying for the boat trip and the church, I don't know if that's worth it. The second thing is that they close in about 2 hours. And although this is a great place to see sunset, there's actually somewhere else that I really want to go. But Bled Castle is one of these really magnificent fortresses built right over Lake Bled. It gives you an incredible view of the city. It also gives you a really nice history of Bled, but we're gonna have to take it a skip today. But if you do come here and you have some extra time, this is definitely a place that might be worth checking out. Taste test passed. This environment here, it's like I walked into a jungle. It's completely different from Lake Bled. You've got so much greenery, so many trees, and I think we're on the verge of missing sunset. So we're gonna hurry up, walk a little bit faster. But man, was not expecting this here in Lake Bled. This is nothing like what I was expecting at all. Well, after a bit of a hike, we've made it to this viewpoint. You can't see anything because there's a lot of people taking photos over there, and I want to wait for them to clear out before I show you guys the incredible view of Lake Bled behind me. But the sun is just setting right over there, and I have to say, this viewpoint is called Ostrica, I think that's how you pronounce it. It definitely lives up to the hype. It's one of the best viewpoints you could ask for, and people say you should come here during the sunrise. I say it doesn't matter because it's so beautiful. And with a view like that, that is how you end off any perfect day here in Bled. I have to say, after spending a full day here, this has easily become one of my favorite places in the whole world. This lake, there's just no scenery like it in the world, and more importantly, that island just changes the entire place itself. But you've probably seen today how many things you can do here in Bled. There's actually quite a few things that are available. You can go tobogganing, you can go visit the island, you can go walk around. It's just such a nature-oriented place that makes it probably one of the perfect destinations to come to. And in my opinion, if it's not on your bucket list now, it should be as soon as possible. But with that, it's getting cold. The sun has officially set here in Slovenia. It's time for us to get back, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video right here. It is getting quite chilly, so we're gonna have to race down the mountain against time so that we aren't frozen up here at the very top. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. If you enjoyed the video, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe for a lot more food and travel videos. That's gonna be it for Bled, but you can see right behind me this view. This makes it all worth it. So I'll see you guys on the next one.